So good evening, everybody, and welcome to Northern Nights. This is one of our virtual open houses presented by us at Northern Michigan University. So my name is Jillian Saya, and I work in the NMU admissions office. So if you are from the Lower Peninsula, kind of the northwest side, I'm based in Traverse City, Michigan, so you might run into me. I'm usually anywhere between probably Clare and Mackinac City as I use my map hand, true Michigander right there. But if you're in any of those areas or those schools or coming from any types of those locations, I would be your direct admissions counselor, so you might recognize my name. But if not, no worries. So I'm actually going to be hosting tonight the Engineering, Manufacturing, and Industrial Technology student panel with our 4 really awesome students that we have on the screen right here. And just a note, so and I'm going to keep reminding you of this as we go through, as we get more questions or people joining in and out, that we do have the Q&A feature turned on, and we will have any students at home or any parents or guests coming in. If you'd like to ask anything, feel free to pop your question in there, and then we'll get to it as we go. Other than that, I will just be asking some questions too, and we'll kind of just keep the conversation rolling. So off the top, I think the first thing to do is let's actually meet our student panelists. So thank you all of you so much for being here. And I think we'll just have each of you kind of go around and introduce yourself, and let's go with your name and where you're from, and then obviously your major, and then what year you are in school, so where you're at in the process. And I've got Charlotte first up on my screen. So Charlotte, if you wouldn't mind going from there, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my name is Charlotte. I'm a sophomore from Heartland, Michigan, and I'm majoring in construction management.
Awesome. Great. And then let's see, let's go to Billy.
Hi guys, I'm Billy. I'm a senior level and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering technology.
Thank you. And then how about Douglas?
Hello, my name's Doug. I'm from Marquette, Michigan. I'm majoring in industrial technology with a minor in industrial maintenance, and I also took the welding certificate program.
Cool, thank you. And then last up we got Will.
Hi, I'm William. I'm from Minnesota, and I'm a sophomore in the construction management program.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. And we're just going to kind of jump into it. So, you know what, let's go a little bit deeper. So I know you kind of mentioned off the top what your majors were and where you're at in them, but how about we go a little bit deeper into what you're doing in your program, kind of what your classes are like, the experiences you've had kind of this far. So really anything you feel like is a good thing to share about what you've been doing in your classes and specifically in your program. And let's just throw it back to Charlotte. I'm going to pick on you a lot today because you're right on the current top corner of my screen. So Charlotte, go ahead and take it away on anything really exciting or kind of memorable that you're working on or doing within your program.
Currently, right now, we just had our construction management job fair. So I'm actually working on the job search a lot right now for summer internships. And then the classes I'm taking right now are Michigan building codes. So we kind of look through like the building codes book and apply that to real life situations. And then I'm also taking MEP. So we learn about like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems.
Nice, very cool. How about we go over to Billy? Go ahead and jump in.
Sure. So in Eng Tech, right now in the senior level classes, a lot of heavy math, unfortunately, so not as fun. But in general, I think more of the fun classes are things like CNC or some of the industrial power classes you can take. Those feel a little bit more hands-on, a little more applied, and something that you can do. Being a senior working on senior project, which a lot of majors also have, we get to make cool things. For example, we're making a custom toolbox for a tailgate. That'd be our senior project, but there's a lot of other types of projects and a lot of other classes you can really get into in our degree.
Nice. And Doug, what do you got for us?
So I'm kind of in a similar boat as Billy. I'm a senior, so not a whole lot of my classes aren't tons of fun. I already kind of took those, but some of the really fun classes that I got to take in the welding program, they're all just, out of position welding or pipe welding, all these different things. And they're like 2/3 or more of the content is hands-on in the lab, getting in there, using the equipment, learning how to troubleshoot it, learning how to fix it, learning how to weld. And I thought that was amazing as a tactile learner. I didn't have to worry about reading chapters and chapters and chapters out of a textbook. I just got to get right in there and start practicing. So that was awesome for me personally. And then there's a lot of other cool classes here and there throughout the industrial technology program. You get to learn about like hydraulics, and with my minor in industrial maintenance, I got to learn about belt drives, chain drives, conveyor systems, all kinds of cool stuff like that.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. And William, how about you?
I'm in the construction management program, similar to Charlotte, and right now I'm in surveying and layout and also MEPS. So that's been pretty fun, surveying and layout. We get to work outside and we get to kind of learn some of the tools that we'd be using in that field of construction, and a lot of hands-on work. So previously in freshman year, we had a lot of hands-on work as well with like CN 110. You get to actually build a shed, and it's been a really fun program. Just a lot of hands-on learning. It's really good if you're into that technical learning. So.
For sure. Well, and you know what, and you keep, all of you kind of touched on that hands-on, very like, you're not so much just stuffed in a classroom type of vibe. And I think being in admissions, and when I'm talking to students, a lot of why people are looking at NMU is because they don't want to like watch a PowerPoint, take a quiz, read a book and go home. So would you all kind of agree or maybe disagree? Like what are your thoughts around how true to form that is? Is it really hands-on, or is it that's what you've kind of experienced in your classes? Anybody want to go a little bit further on what those actually feel like for somebody kind of considering?
Yeah, so I think with pretty much all of our construction classes, we actually have a lab where we get to do like a hands-on aspect of it, which is really nice to be able to actually like put that into a real world situations, like building the shed at a concrete lab. So we got to learn how to do all that stuff, mix everything up. And then like right now for our MEP class, we even get to look at all the pipes and valves and everything, just so we can actually like have a tangible item to look at, which is really nice.
Yeah, and kind of piggyback off that with the hands-on learning too, not just being in the classroom, they bring in kind of real world aspects that are kind of being used in the field currently. So that's another kind of really cool part of the program that the professors bring in. So they have a lot of outside experience in some of the, I guess, some of the real world things they do, like that concrete class. Mike would reference projects that were being done up in Meyer, just in Marquette. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, good. And then going a little bit deeper too on that. So like thinking about your professors and kind of like who you're interacting with in your classes, would you say that there's been like opportunities to jump on projects that they have, or internships, or like possible job things that have opened up for you that you're thinking of maybe after you graduate or while you've been a student at NMU? Any opportunities like that have come through?
Like I said before, we did have a construction management specific job fair. So like a bunch of different construction companies throughout the Midwest or even on the East Coast will come out and talk to us. And it's really cool because pretty much everybody gets the opportunity in our major to talk to anybody from those industries. And we can actually like have the opportunity to make those connections and get those internships, which is super nice.
For sure. That's awesome. And then Doug, a question specifically to you and your program. I know what a lot of people say to me when I'm out in high schools. They say, well, I'm going to go to Michigan Tech because I want to do mechanical engineering or like that. They're looking for a very specific kind of facet of that. Do you kind of any thoughts on how what you're doing in your program, like why it appealed to you and why you chose to come to NMU and end up kind of in the area that you're at?
Well, I'm from here, so that was part of it. I grew up around NMU and heard lots of good things about it. But I also took several tours of the welding lab before coming in, and that's what I started. My freshman year was the welding program. And I got to talk to a lot of excellent professors, got to talk to a lot of good people from admissions and all over the board, and just heard lots of good things about the programs really actually being hands-on. It's not just, oh, we're hands-on, here's a PowerPoint about it. It's really like I said, 2/3 or more of the program is in the lab. You get your 50-minute lecture and then hour and 40 minutes in the lab working on stuff, making projects. And in certain classes, there are opportunities for you to come up with and make your own projects and still get that counted for a class grade. And the welding program has recently been expanded to an associate's degree. So when I took it, it was just a certificate program, but now I know they've added probably at least 4 or 5 more classes that sound like they would be excellent learning opportunities. And I know that the professors there are top tier. I know Kirk Guckenberg, excuse me. He's one of the best welders I've ever met in my life. And I've worked at several welding places now. Just really good people, really good material. And there's really no limit on like what you can build and what you can do and what you can experience with that kind of knowledge. Especially as far as like asking instructors questions. I don't think I've ever had an instructor say, sorry, I don't know. It's either here's the answer or it's let me get back to you tomorrow after I've done a little bit of research, but they've always given me very helpful advice.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to jump in on that question? I know that was specific to Doug, but anything that prompted as he was
saying for the engineering program in general, the debate always goes, Tech versus NMU and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that where tech may have an advantage is they have a mechanical engineering program, where ours is an engineering technology program.
Right.
Big difference in that is going to be a lot of calculus-based math for 4 years in engineering program versus here, as a technology program, it's a lot of algebra with some calculus. Every class is going to have math, but like Doug said, it's about a 50-50, I would say, for a lot of the more base classes. What you choose as electives, like say welding, CNC, industrial power, that's where you're going to start getting into a lot more labs that are going to be more hands-on, and that's going to be significant more lab time and more hands-on. So you can definitely take your fair share of PowerPoint classes just like any other university, but I think you have a lot more opportunities to get your hands on and get them dirty at this specific degree.
Cool. That's a great
Some,
point. Yeah, go ahead.
Something else to mention there with the MET program, Billy, I'm sure you can speak to this more, but you have the opportunity of concentrations as opposed to minors. So you can concentrate in things like alternative energy or mechatronics and things like that. So not only are you getting your MET degree, you're also getting more specialized knowledge in a certain area.
Exactly. And you also have to choose that. So for example, I have CNC, which I really, really enjoy. It's training programs into a computer to take raw material and make a part out of it. With mechatronics or industrial power or renewable energy, you're going to learn all about those fields, get more branching into electricity, get more into design at work. So yeah, that is a big benefit is we have to choose a concentration, but it really broadens your horizon on your knowledge base.
Yeah, that's great to know. And Doug, I loved what you mentioned about your specific kind of relationship and experiences with your professors and the ones that you were really kind of gravitating towards. Anybody else want to jump in on a great kind of relationship or experience they've had with some of the NMU faculty or anything that's really been a nice kind of signature point of your education?
I would say that you're going to have a lot of the same professors in a lot of your classes. I don't know if that's true for every degree, but for the MET in particular, it really was. Joe Ruthier and Cale Polkinghorn in particular, they're really, really great guys. And you can go to them with any question from any class and they will help you the best they can. Most of the professors are like that. Mike Martin, who teaches the higher level classes, if he can't answer your question, he won't stop until he finds someone who can. So yeah, you can talk about personal issues all the way up to questions that aren't even from their class. Professors all the way around are really willing to help you here.
That's awesome.
I can speak to that as well. When I first actually came up to NMU, I met Mike Andery, and he's actually my academic advisor now. But I can literally go to him with anything, any job questions, internship questions, class questions, life questions, anything, and he'll be there to answer. So that's just been really nice to have somebody on campus that can do stuff like that for you, especially when you're living so far away from home. It's nice to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're kind of going too, I mentioned that I would say as we kept having people jump in and off the call, if anybody that's listening has any questions specifically that they'd like to know for our panel or anything that you're wondering about, feel free to use that Q&A little function down at the bottom of your screen and type the questions in there, and then I will read them and have this great group give you hopefully some great answers of what you're specifically looking to know. But kind of touching back on your points about being far away from home, or so some of you actually are from the area, so that's probably not as much of a factor. Yeah, there you go, Doug. But what about the support systems on campus? So what does that feel like for you? I think a big concern of a lot of students I run into is that they're just like, it's so far away. I'm going to get homesick. It's a snow apocalypse. Like, what am I going to do? Like, is there any, like the community aspect? So do you feel like there's been support services you've used or anything that you want to talk about specifically? And I'll just throw that question out to the whole group if anybody wants to pick up that and kind of run with it.
Yeah, I can pop in on that one. So I've been here 22 years now, my whole life, born and raised. And one thing that I hear time and time again from people who come to Northern from places like Chicago or places like Detroit is just how nice people are. So yes, there are several, official support systems, like your professors are excellent. There's, free counseling and all that other stuff. But just the people here in general are, I mean, there's a few exceptions, of course, like any group, but like I would say probably 98% of the people here are just nice and willing to, help you pick up your books if you drop them, help you dig out your car from a parking lot. I know I've spent a couple hours on several different nights just, I got home late and I didn't have anything else to do. And I saw, nursing students coming in after a 12, 15-hour shift, whatever, at the hospital. So I'm digging them out of the parking lots. But there's lots of good people up here, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone say like, no, I don't want to hear about your problems or something like that, especially professors. Like everybody's really good about just lending a hand and being kind and not being afraid to try and give advice where they can or direct you to a better place if if they're not qualified for advice. Like I said, professors are excellent about that. I've had many, I could list off probably 10 names just off the top of my head of people who are really good about just being there and being a great resource for school and otherwise.
For sure. Awesome. Well, and kind of going down a little bit deeper too, I know we've touched on kind of your professors, we've touched on your programs. I think what a lot of people too probably wonder specifically in this field, because it is so there are all these different programs, they seem like they require a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge. So when you were starting out and when you were picking these programs, when you were coming to NMU right as a freshman or right in your first year, did you have any prior experience at all? Did you feel like you needed any? Did you feel like you kind of hit the ground running once you got to campus and then the skills were kind of given to you then? What were your experiences around what you kind of knew going into it or what you felt like you needed to know, or then kind of what you received on campus?
I think having a solid base for some degrees is actually really important. Like something Joe Ruthier says in your beginning drafting course, he'll walk around class and he'll have a handful of nuts and bolts and he'll hand them to everybody and say, go find the matching pair. His point is, if you haven't pulled apart your brakes, if you haven't disassembled a VCR as a kid, stuff like that, you didn't have the interest in like that sort of technology, my degree specifically, that might not be the degree for you. You might like math a lot more and want to specifically work on just mathematical solving. So yeah, it's actually really important, I think, to have a good baseline for engineering technology to be able to really succeed in it. Because it's one thing to be able to design something, but as an example, we're making weldments in a drafting in our SolidWorks program. I'm sure Doug has helped with this. You get a print in there and someone's got something that's just amazing thing. And then you go to look at it and you're like, how are you going to weld this? And they go, what do you mean? And it's like, you don't have any access to these points. So if you haven't actually played with these kinds of things or worked with them, you might be a little bit behind, but that doesn't mean you can't catch up because there's tons and tons of programs, a lot of student groups like the Baja team that's going to expose you to, welding and actual nuts and bolts and then actual driving and all sorts of skills. That's a really popular one on campus here. Doug's a part of it. And then there's just so many other ones. But yeah, if you don't have an experience, you have plenty of opportunities to get experience.
And that being said too, I've taken lots of just like the base classes, like MF 134 is your intro to machining. I had zero like experience whatsoever with machining before coming in. And after taking that class, I was taken from absolutely, like I barely even knew what a lathe was. And now I regularly use a mill and a lathe on the Baja team to manufacture our own components. Welding, I did have 2 years of high school welding coming in, but I could tell just based on the intro to welding class that they were covering so much stuff that I already knew. Like I kind of had a leg up because I had that experience in high school, but I could also tell that I wouldn't have had a problem starting from zero because they covered everything you needed to know. And like I said, the professors were excellent about answering, all kinds of questions. It didn't matter if, it was a stupid question, like they answered everything, covered it all, make sure you understood it. And one of my favorite parts about it was it's like you get out of it what you put into it. In almost every case, if you bust your butt and you go as hard as you can and you want to learn everything, you're going to come out, head and above more intelligent than you came in. Flip side of that is if you just come to class and then go home at the end of the day and you don't really care, then that's probably about what you're going to get out of it too. So being a hardworking individual is definitely going to bump you up, but coming in with no knowledge whatsoever, as long as you have a good work ethic, you're going to be just fine.
Awesome. Great points. Thank you. Well, and kind of talking about that involvement line, that's such a great point. Like you mentioned, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I know you mentioned the Baja team, so I want to know a little bit more about that. So I'd love if either of you would like to kind of expand on what you actually do with the Baja team for like somebody that's never even heard of that before. And then anybody else that wants to jump in on other student organizations or other type of involvement or groups that you kind of are a part of or are thinking about, anything with that would be awesome to talk about too. So tell me first a little bit more about the Baja team and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently the director of manufacturing for the team. I know Billy spent several years on the team as well. He was our president last year and vice president before that, I believe. But essentially what the Baja team is We make what are called like mini Baja cars. So if you Google like Baja racing trucks, you'll see these like huge trucks. That's not what we do, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to. Ours are like kind of like you took a four-wheeler and a side-by-side and mushed them together. So it's a single-seater race car meant for off-road, dirt, mud, snow, the like. But basically what we do is we take our given set of rules from the Society of Automotive Engineers, and then we engineer a car from nothing. We purchase our wheels and our engine and bigger like components like that, like our suspension and things like that. But other than that, we pretty much just order 24-foot lengths of tube and design and engineer and manufacture a car that conforms to the standards that that organization is looking for. And then we take those cars, go out to other colleges. Normally Michigan Tech holds Blizzard Baja in February, and UW Stout holds Backwoods Baja in the fall. And then there's a nationals event that moves around the country every year. But then we go out and race against other teams. So in addition to all the information that you get to learn just in the shop, you get to also go out and see what other colleges are doing, and then you can talk to them too. Like for the most part, the teams are all really nice. Like you can walk up and be like, hey, so why'd you design your gearbox like that? Or like, hey, I see that your suspension is really out of the ordinary. Like what advantage does that give you? And you can talk to all these other engineering students who are pretty much on the same level of education as you, give or take a year or two of college, and just have really good conversations about, well, why does that work? Or why do you do this when we do it this way? And it's just a heck of a lot of fun. You get to go race around and throw mud everywhere, and stuff goes catastrophically wrong, and it's always fun to see the other teams come limping in with a car that has 3 wheels and should have 4, and just good stuff like that. It's all a lot of fun. But I've honestly learned more from Baja than I have from most of my classes, given I spend a lot more time there than some people might. But it's an excellent learning experience, and it's like the definition of hands-on. You're in there, you're making stuff, you're welding, you're grinding, you're painting, you're engineering. There's CAD work, all kinds of stuff that you can do there. And you don't have to be a technical major either. Like there's a whole business and finance side of it. There's room for anybody, and you could come in never having even seen a wrench, and we can teach you pretty much anything you need to know and get you going on the team. So it's very inclusive. We're always doors wide open. Stop by whenever. Maybe not with Corona and everything, but normally
Wear a mask.
It's a great time. But yeah, very inclusive.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds so cool. Anybody else that want to jump in? Any student organizations that others are a part of, or that you just, or maybe you're not a part of it, maybe you've heard of it, or you think it's cool, or you just want to mention?
Yeah, so I'm part of the Northern Michigan Constructors Club, and basically I'm the secretary this year, and we have other executive members, but basically we do community work within kind of the Marquette County, and like just this coming weekend we're going to go up to Big Bay, and we're going to do some work on renovating cabins for just kind of local help. So it's you get involved with the community, and you get to kind of do some hands-on work, use a wood shop, and you get to meet some other students in the program, and you get to put in some volunteer service or volunteer hours, and it's a lot of fun. You get to meet some people and meet community members and just get back to the community. So that's kind of a really cool program.
I am also in Northern Michigan Constructors. I just joined this year, and it was honestly like the best decision I've made this year. And I feel like other than like all the community service and everything involved with that, like I've met so many people in my major, and like especially meeting like older students in my major, like they help a lot. They're good like networking, they can help you with resumes, anything, which was super cool just to have that from like students. So
For sure. Awesome. Well, all great experiences, really cool things to kind of take a look at if you're considering any of the programs and what more you can do with them. And then so easy, nice softball question to the 4 of you. So what has been your favorite Northern experience so far? So if you could just pick one that you would say has been one of your top like headlining events of your time at NMU, what would you tell me it would be? And let's toss that over we'll start with Billy first.
Put me on the spot. I didn't think I was ready.
I didn't get a chance to think about it.
Yeah, I think right off the top of my head, I would say last year the Baja team went to UW Stout, and UW Stout is usually pretty muddy because it's in the fall. It's about 6 hours south into Wisconsin, but it was especially muddy last year. It was so much rain. Cars were stuck left and right. People were pulling each other out, not just the cars, like the trucks that brought these things down. So we all raced pretty hard. We had to change out our air filter about every 10 minutes just because it was so clogged with mud. It actually killed our engine when we got home. There was so much mud in it. But anyways, we raced really, really hard, and we have good years and bad years, but we got second place in that race, and it was one of the better placements we've had in the time I was there. So I would say that was probably one of my best experiences, is getting second place at UW Stout. Doug was there as well. It was a heck of a time, but we were all just soaked to the bone by the time we left.
And by change out our air filter every 10 minutes, he means we made air filters every 10 minutes. And
wow.
that's why the engine died.
Oh my God. It's impressive though. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we're getting a lot of plugs for the Baja Club by the end of this. I feel like you're going to have a lot more members after we're done with this.
Join up. It's a great time.
Let's throw this over to Charlotte. So Charlotte, what has been your most favorite NMU experience so far?
It's hard to pick a favorite. I do have one that I wanted to bring up. Last year we did have Women in Construction Day, which was so much fun. We just got to meet a bunch of like younger students from like high schools around the UP, and we got to like teach them the wood shop, virtual construction, pretty much like a bunch of stuff that goes into our major. And it was just really cool. Like, because I know if I was that age, I would have loved to have somebody show me that as a female in the industry. So unfortunately, we didn't get to do that this year because of COVID, but I would love to have that again next year.
Awesome. Thank you. And William, how about you?
I would say my favorite kind of event at NMU was the CN 110 class, building the sheds with your own little kind of project in your group, and just kind of getting to know some of your classmates in that freshman year and kind of forming a really tight, close group. And I mean, just learning some of the basic trades, and it was a lot of fun, and just building kind of that community like we mentioned earlier. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And Doug, last up, what has been your favorite NMU experience over your time here?
I would say probably my last like 2 months or so of my freshman year, when I was doing all my welding certification tests. I was probably spending like 40 hours a week in the lab. Mind you, I did way more than most students normally do, so it's not that crazy if you want to do it yourself. But it was just, I got to weld all day, every day, and I got some great certifications and stuff that would help me out long term. But I also got to know the instructors a lot more. That led to me being recommended for a tutor, to be a tutor for the welding program. So I've been the tutor for the welding industrial maintenance programs for several years now, ever since I finished my freshman year. I've also TA'd and been a lab assistant for the programs. And I volunteer, like Charlotte said about the Women in Construction Day. I think I've probably volunteered for that on the welding lab side 3 or 4 times now. And it's always been an excellent experience. It's really fun to get kids who might be in like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, whatever, who've never been in an industrial setting. They've never seen an angle grinder. They've never seen welding on anything other than maybe like a movie. And to get them under a hood, give them a jacket, all that stuff, and say, here's the welding gun, go for it, and just watch their reactions. It's so much fun. But they all come away with it with smiles. We get to make little projects and stuff with them. We've done like jewelry trees and little coat hangers and all kinds of stuff like that. But I'd say probably just the welding program in general was absolutely the most fun I've ever had in school, hands down. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I agree with you. 6th grade is my market. I do so well with the 6th graders. I get 6th graders into my whole middle school class every spring, and it's my best presentation of the year. They think I'm really funny, and they ask all the questions, they raise their hand. It's great. So I agree with you on that age group. They're an awesome group. And so we are now at the very tail end, if you can believe it, how much fun we've been having on our panel. But I've got one last question for all 4 of you. So going out to the whole group, and another kind of soft curveball question, but why did you choose NMU? So if you put yourself back in your brain when you're thinking about colleges, maybe deciding if you even wanted to go to college or not, maybe it was always going to be a thing for you. Why did you decide to choose NMU? And then you obviously ended up here. So what helped you make that choice? And let's go back to Billy.
Well, to be nitty gritty about it, honestly, what really attracted me to NMU at first was tuition costs. At the time, it was the most affordable tuition in the state. I think it's number 2 right now, but not by much, so pretty close. I would say that was a really good decision in general because, yes, tuition costs may have been my incentive, but overall the experience was really well worth it. I was a paramedic for 5 years before this. I worked that, and I just needed a career change. That was a really stressful environment. Going engineering is equally stressful, but in a lot different kind of way. And I would say that it was just a really good decision to come to Northern, because I don't think if I had gone to tech, not only may I not have been able to afford it, I also don't think I would have had the support and the fun that I've had here. Northern has really provided me with more opportunities to personally develop more than just professionally develop, and I think that's really important.
Awesome. Thank you. William, how about you?
I would say tuition was a kind of a part of it, is really affordable, but just the outdoor environment, like, I mean, we have trails just, I mean, not even 5 minutes away from campus. And if you want to get outside, there's tons and tons of other people that want to get outside with you. And I mean, just the experience of just the environment, all the stuff you can do on campus and off campus, it's a lot of fun. And you can do a lot in your 4 years here. Get outside and really enjoy the Marquette County. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, easy place to live. I know a lot of people choose it because of the location, for sure. Unless you're a native like Doug, then you're just always there. So Doug, how about you? Why did you choose NMU? Obviously, I know you touched on it a little bit because you're from the area, but anything else that you want to expand upon with the thought process there?
Well, kind of piggybacking off of what has been said already, it was tuition cost. Growing up here, I knew it was one of the most affordable colleges, and since I was from here, I knew I could live at home and stuff. Granted, I did live in the dorms my freshman year. It was an excellent experience, and I highly recommend it if anyone's curious. But I was able to move back home after that to save a little bit of money. Being from here, I of course also knew that the area was phenomenal. There are just miles and miles and miles of trails and woods and things that you'd never be able to experience in a larger city or a place with a higher population density. But as far as like the college itself, after taking a few years of welding in high school and kind of realizing that that's ultimately where I wanted to go with a career, I got to take a few tours of the Jacob Eddy complex in general, and then also of the welding lab. So after meeting some of the instructors and getting a little bit of their knowledge, as small as that was just from a quick tour, but they kind of had me hooked. And then after completing the welding program, I never once had a question of whether or not that was the right choice for me. I loved every minute of it. Even on the days where I was frustrated enough where I wanted to just throw my helmet across the room, I would still sit there and think like, well, it's better than being in a cubicle, or it's better than, whatever else, at least for me personally. So coming to Northern was mostly location and tuition based, but looking back, I've had some great experiences here, and I think I definitely made the right choice as far as which college to go to.
Awesome. Thank you. And so Charlotte, you get the final word. So why did you decide to choose NMU?
So I kind of went everywhere when I was doing college visits in high school, and my mom was like, oh, let's just go see it. Like, it's so far away. I ended up falling in love with Marquette, and I love Lake Superior and all that good stuff. And then I actually got to meet with the faculty and some students in construction management when I was up here for Wildcat Weekend, I think. And just them talking about all the opportunities and looking at all the labs, I just knew like that was the place I had to be. And I definitely don't regret my decision. So.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, all fantastic answers all around. Thank you, everybody, so much. And thank you for your full participation, everything tonight. I hope everybody watching enjoyed your answers. I know I did. I learned a lot more. I'm going to use some of the stuff that you stole from my material on the road with my classes now. But I hope everybody watching at home, you learn more about our programs in the engineering, manufacturing, and industrial technology. And we do now have our schedule of events here up on your screen. So you're seeing that, and these are the rest of our Northern Night sessions. So if you'd like more information, or if you're interested in any other different majors or programs at NMU, you can consider visiting campus either in person, or we have a whole host of virtual options through our campus visit program as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And then we can actually also schedule academic department appointments with our faculty and members of our staff that way. And so if you just visit nmu.edu/visit, that will take you to the right page with all the information. And you can just take a look and maybe screenshot that schedule of events if you want to there. And of course, if you need anything at all, send us an email at admissions@nmu.edu, and we will get you all set up with your counselor or whoever you're looking to talk to. But that is the tail end. So thank you, everybody. And I hope everybody has a good evening.